Jon Decker from Fox News Radio, who's covering, I'm sure, probably this issue and particularly the immigration issue. John, how are you?
Hey, I'm well. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Probably a little off topic of what was on your list today, but I saw where was it the NBC who claimed to have this leaked document from the Department of Education?
Yeah, I think it may have been the Associated Press.
Okay, the Associated Press.
That had it first, and then you got that question from NBC that was just asked that you played, and also from Reuters started off the press conference essentially asking about this as well.
Did Spicer mention specifically whether or not the department would, or the White House would quit giving direction to the Department of Justice over this lawsuit that's going before the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I think it's really a work in progress. You know, they have so much on their plate, really, at the start of the administration. I don't think that, as the White House spokesman Sean Spicer mentioned, this is not really one of their priorities, but it's something that they have to tackle. And so that requires a lot of consultations between the Department of Justice and the Department of Education and also the domestic policy team at the White House. And so that means that, you know, it takes time to come up with exactly what kind of decision they're going to make on this particular issue, if they're going to issue a new directive, new guidelines on this particular issue. But, you know, you can sort of see the writing on the wall a little bit, Mark. It looks clearly to me like they're going to go in a different direction than the Obama administration took on this particular issue.
Yeah, I certainly get that impression as well. On the immigration front, I heard Sean Spicer describe it a little bit yesterday. Has the new executive order actually been issued, or are we just getting a glimpse at what it's going to look like?
It has not been issued yet. We're expecting it this week. That's what the president said last week during his press conference, that the new executive order would be issued this week, and that takes a lot of consultations. The consultations are different there. You have individuals from mostly lawyers from the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, the Department of State, and then you have the legal counsel's office at the White House, all trying to come up with an executive order that passes constitutional scrutiny, which, of course, is not what happened with the first executive order. So that takes time. I'm thinking that this will likely come out on Friday of this week when the president will sign the new executive order, and I don't know if you played the White House press briefing in full, but I asked Sean Spicer during it, you know, don't you expect a legal challenge to the new executive order, even though these attorney generals don't know exactly what's going to be in it? And he said, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Separate from that, they did give some new guidance to the Department of Homeland Security, or maybe it was Secretary Kelly who issued that, and immediately I saw that the New York Times and in the Hill newspaper had editorials in there calling it a deportation force. Is that something Spicer addressed today?
You know, he addressed it more yesterday, and there weren't that many questions about that, interestingly enough, today. What I found interesting is that I was looking at, you know, some of my past emails, and I came across an email from the former Department of Homeland Security secretary, and that individual, Jay Johnson, issued a directive almost 1 full year ago. Let me read you just a little bit about what it says.
Please.
And then I want to get your reaction. I'm going to be the questioner, Mark. Let's turn the tables on you. He says, our new policy is focused on public safety and border security as it should be. Those who commit serious crimes or who are apprehended at the border are priorities for removal. And if I didn't tell you that it was Jay Johnson saying that, you think it just came out yesterday from the Department of Homeland Security. It's essentially the same policy.
It sounds like it, yeah. I when I hear that, but of course they didn't follow through on a lot of that, right? Because catch and release was still the policy under the Obama administration, where they're sort of released on their own recognizance, and that's another thing that Kelly says they're going to stop.
Well, you know that there is some truth in what you say, absolutely. At the same time, it was a priority to get those who were convicted of crimes out of the country if they were here illegally. That was the first priority for the Department of Homeland Security in the last administration. It is a priority for this administration as well. You know, but you also heard the added element to what the DHS announced yesterday, and that's the hiring of upwards of 15,000 new immigration officers, 5,000 for border control, 10,000 immigration officers, and they're going to help process all of these individuals that the Trump White House would like to see out of the country, namely those who pose a risk to the U.S. and those who have committed crimes in the U.S.
But fair to say, Jon Decker, that if what Spicer said is true, and there are 900,000 pending deportation orders, they weren't anxious to act on a lot of those. Only the most serious criminals up until now. Correct?
That's right. No, right. That's absolutely true. And so this will be the focus, the priority of the administration. This, by the way, is something which cannot really be challenged. This is a directive, and this is what the DHS must do. It must prioritize of all of the individuals that are here illegally, which ones should essentially be kicked out first. And this is what they've done in the past 24 hours. And, I think it makes their job a lot easier knowing these are the people that they must focus on going forward.
Jon Decker, thanks for your time. Have a great day.
You too, Mark. Thank you.
All right, you bet. Jon Decker from Fox News Radio does a great job up there from the White House, and always a pleasure to get him on the air. So you heard it there. You heard it. See, and that's the thing about it, is that I hoped beyond hope when Donald Trump got elected that a couple of things were going to happen pretty quickly. Obviously, I wanted the Obamacare thing dealt with. Obviously, eventually, I want the wall dealt with. But I wanted immigration dealt with pretty quickly. We've seen that. I wanted to see this language that was released from the Department of Education last year dealt with, because this affects people's lives. This affected public school districts all over this country, many of whom govern with not always the best interest of your children in mind, in my opinion. And parents need to be more active. When's the last time you went to a school board meeting? I know there's some people who do. When's the last time you went there? They're shaping the policy of your district. People don't go